What happened to Sri Lanka?
On the 10th of January 2022, the Public Utilities Commission of Sri Lanka authorized power cuts for a few hours each day. Initially, the cuts lasted 2 hours, but as they extended to 10 to 12 hours, public protests intensified. This highlighted the critical importance of electricity. The reason given for the nationwide power cuts was that the Ceylon Petroleum Corporation had stopped supplying fuel to the Ceylon Electricity Board, citing an outstanding payment of 91 billion rupees. The solution was to cut the supply of electricity.
What really happened to our electricity supply?
Compared to other countries, Sri Lanka's electricity demand is relatively small. According to CEB data, the peak demand last night was 2,242 megawatts. Even at maximum capacity, we would need just over 2,500 megawatts. Last night, thermal power accounted for the majority of electricity production with 999 megawatts of the 2,242.2 megawatts supplied by thermal power plants. Due to the current water levels, hydropower contributed slightly less than 1,200 megawatts. As water levels decrease, reliance on thermal power increases. Last night, the largest share of electricity supply came from the Norachole coal power plant, which provided 540 megawatts or 24.1% of the total supply. This reliance on Norachole increases as hydropower decreases. Norachole alone has 900 megawatts and more than 650 megawatts are added to the national grid. In short, the majority of Sri Lanka's electricity supply depends on the Norachole coal power plant. Norachole, opened on the 22nd of March 2011, was built by China without a competitive tender process. Since its opening, it has broken down more than 20 times. Notably, nationwide power outages occurred on the 17th of August 2020, 3rd of December 2021, 9th of December 2023, often linked to issues at Norachole. Again, this alone shows that the majority of Sri Lanka's electricity supply depends on the Norachole coal power plant. A successful electricity supply system typically involves a mix of energy sources, including hydro, fuel, coal, nuclear, wind, and solar power. However, our approach has been different. In 2016, a tender was called to build a 300 megawatt liquefied natural gas or LNG power plant in Kerawalapitia. Initially, the tender sought an international supplier to provide LNG and construct the plant. Later, the decision was changed to have the CPC supply LNG, leading to complications and delays. Eventually, the tender was awarded to a company in which the CEB holds a majority stake. Despite opening part of the plant recently, it is not running on LNG. Previous attempts to build LNG plants in Kerawalapitia also failed to use LNG. LNG is cheaper and more environmentally friendly than diesel or naphtha. Remember that when the tender was called for, it was said that the CPC will supply the LNG. So, what happened? In July 2021, a contract was signed with New Fortress Energy to supply LNG, bypassing the tender process. This was even dubbed the Midnight Energy Deal. New Fortress Energy was granted the contract to supply LNG for a power plant with a minimum capacity of 1,000 megawatts. However, there were significant issues regarding the pricing. Despite the agreement, it was never implemented. Following public protests, a new administration took office. In the final moments of the previous government, on the 20th of August, another LNG supply agreement was signed with a different company. What are the terms of this new agreement? How will the deal be implemented? The public remains unaware. Similarly, the New Fortress Agreement did not come to fruition. Despite various agreements, the power plants are still running on diesel or naphtha. There are many more issues to address. Renewable energy projects such as wind and solar offer cost-effective electricity. However, past decisions have led to higher costs. For example, a wind power project in Mannar was set to purchase electricity at $0.0826 per unit despite a tender offering $0.0488 per unit. The deal has not yet reached a final agreement. If it is approved, we will end up paying higher prices for electricity for many years. The same issue arose with the Punakari solar power plant, where it was alleged in Parliament that a contract was being prepared to purchase electricity at $0.15 per unit for 9 years. These are some of the issues we have faced recently. Another significant issue is emergency power purchases. When Norochole breaks down or water levels in reservoirs drop, the government resorts to buying electricity from private power plants to ensure a continuous supply. These emergency purchases can be very costly, sometimes up to 120 rupees per unit. Some of these private power plants could be acquired by the CEB if necessary. What has been the result of all these actions? Our electricity supply policy aims for minimal costs. However, are we currently receiving electricity at minimal cost? Instead, following IMF agreements, electricity prices were increased by 66% on the 15th of February 2022 to align with costs. It was stated that prices would be adjusted 4 times a year to match costs. Charging a fair price that reflects the cost is not an issue. The problem arises when the public has to bear the burden of inefficient or corrupt deals that benefit only a few. You need not look far. Reading the Hansard reports from Parliament will provide more details. Some of these deals have even reached the courts. These issues need immediate investigation and resolution. The public remains vigilant.
What happened to Sri Lanka?